All right, good morning. My name is Jamie Phelps. I'm the Client Success Lead here at Voyant, and today's webinar, we're going to be covering the basics of presenting a plan in Voyant. We will cover the data review, timeline, goals, events, let's see screen, and presenting proposals as what-if scenarios. This webinar is going to be recorded, and you will receive a recording after the webinar is completed, usually within 24 hours. We're not going to open up this webinar to questions, but if you do have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to me at support@planwithvoyant.com. That email address is in the chat. And you are also welcome to reach out to me if you'd like to set up any one-on-one training, or if you'd like to prep individually for any presentations that you have coming up with clients. I'd be happy to do that with you. I like to start out on the dashboard view when we're doing a presentations training. I think it's important when you're meeting with a client to initially review all of the data that you have in the plan, just to make sure that everything that you have in here is up to date. I do find that this chart can be a little bit distracting to have that initial conversation. So something that you can do is navigate over here to the profile icon in your top right, go to user preferences, and turn off your inline help and turn off your dashboard chart. So turning off your inline help during this presentation can just help keep those hyperlinks from being clicked on and popping up during the presentation, just causing a distraction. So clicking that off, we're going to select this down arrow, open up all the data that we have in the plan, and just quickly review with the client what we have in here, make sure there hasn't been any changes to their income or account balances that we need to make updates to. Under the savings and investments section, if you'd like, you can select show overview. This will show you a different view of those assets, and you can look at this in a pie chart form, and you can select any of the assets, make adjustments to the balance or to contributions in here if you'd like, and then click done to save. And then to get out of here, you'll just select back, and that'll take you back to the dashboard. Once you've reviewed all of this information with the client, you're going to go over to the timeline. This is probably one of the areas where you're going to spend a good majority of your time having conversations with them. This is a great section to have deeper conversations with your client about their life goals and what they're planning for, focusing on goal-based planning conversations, really having conversations that highlight the value of the planning that you're bringing to them, the value of the planning that's going to enable them to spend more time with the people that they love, doing the things that they love in the future. It gives you really an opportunity to highlight the value of the service you're offering them. So we have in here just some basic events that they've told us so far that they want to plan for. We've got a kitchen remodel, their retirement events. They want to have some really productive traveling years in their early retirement, and then they want to slow down a little bit around age 75, and then we just have some projected mortality events. As you're having conversations with them, you might add in some additional things, like maybe around age 75, they want to add in a couple of other things. They want to slow down, maybe buy a boat, do things more around their house. Maybe you don't know the cost of that yet, but you want to put an event on the timeline just to marker that so you can have a conversation about it later. Once you have these conversations with them and you've added the event markers to the timeline, if you do have an idea of how much something is going to cost, you can tie that to a goal in the plan, like we've done here with this kitchen remodel. We've tied it to a goal, added it in as 3,000, and then we'll get an idea of whether or not that is something they're on track to be able to afford. Let's see. I also wanted to highlight that if you would like, you can also select or deselect different people in the plan and go person by person to have a conversation with them about their individual goals. So if you'd like to have a conversation first about Jane and her specific goals, you can add or edit different things by simply double clicking anywhere on the timeline for her and then deselect her, pull in John, have some conversations about John's personal goals, and then maybe you want to do some specific planning for their daughter, Olivia. You can add in some additional events for Olivia. Maybe we want to do some education planning here for her. And this will bring up her ages once you've deselected the parents. So maybe we want to add in a college education goal here. And then we can add in an amount to that once we have an idea of how much they want to spend by simply clicking our plus button here, go to goals, and we can do an education goal, put that in Olivia's name, and give that an amount. Maybe that's $25,000 annually. We can give that a timing. We know when that's going to end and start based on her ages. Click yes to save that. And now we have that on the timeline for Olivia. So that's just a few ideas of some of the different dynamic goal-based planning you can do with your clients while they're in the office with you. And then you're going to move over to the Let's See screen. Once you have moved over to the Let's See screen, you would want to start on the single chart view. In here, you're going to look at their cash flow first. You might want to have a conversation with them, high level, about what cash flow planning is. Turn on your details, give them an idea of what they're looking at. We're looking at our early pre-retirement years here. This is where we're accumulating our assets. We're making contributions into our various buckets, our RRSPs, our non-reg accounts, our TFSAs. We're putting money away in our various accounts, and we are planning for the future. And then we're moving into our travel years where we're spending a little bit more, and we are starting to really enjoy our retirement years. How are we funding that? We're starting to draw on the CPP, OAS, the RRSPs, the non-registered accounts. You can see that just by hovering over those charts. It does look like they are on track to be able to fully afford their lifestyle goals in the future, and everything is looking to be on track with all of that. And you can also move over to their assets chart, take a look at what their assets are going to look like in their accumulation years all the way up through their end of life. You can see that they are looking to have quite a bit of accrued assets at the end of their plan. You can even turn on your legend here and remove that main residence and just look at liquid assets if you'd like. You can turn on the zoom option and just look at specific stages of the plan. So if you wanted to look at pre-retirement or early retirement, you can simply do that by clicking on the stages while you're in Zoom, and then look at the final years to see how much they're going to have at the end of the plan. You can see they've got about 1.9 million left at the end of the plan projected. So maybe you want to have some conversations with them about, is that something that they're wanting to do? Do they want to pass on a large legacy to their daughter, Olivia? Or maybe do they want to spend more in retirement? Do they want to look at retiring maybe a little bit earlier? There's a lot of options that they have here based on what we're looking at today. So these charts can open up some bigger conversations as you're talking to them and walking them through what they're looking at. You can also move over to our overview screen and look at the legacy. Since they're still in the early pre-retirement years, you might want to talk about what would happen if one of them died today. See how much they would be passing to the other person based on their insurance policies, and what would happen if they both died today. What would they be passing over to their daughter? And would that be enough? Have conversations with them based on their concerns around legacy, and then also look at their planned legacy at age 90 and what they would be passing after tax to their daughter. And that would be both liquid and illiquid assets, total estate transfer. Next thing you might do is run a couple of insights based on some of the conversations that you've had with them. So maybe they want to take a look at what would happen if they retired a little bit earlier. So let's create a what if scenario where they retire early. So they've got plenty of assets at the end of the plan. Create a plan where they retire early. What does that look like? Let's go to our timeline, move that retirement age over to age 60. And let's just see what that does to their plan based on their current levels of spending. So you can see now they're not meeting all of their goals 100%. Let's look at their Let's See screen. Let's look at what that does. I'm going to move out of the Zoom feature, and you can see they start running out of money around age 76. But I can see that in their early pre-retirement years, they do have quite a bit of surplus income. And maybe they have some options here that we could plan for in these early years for how we could still let them retire early, but make a few adjustments here and now. So let's go to our insights section. And I would definitely suggest maybe having some of these ideas in mind before you meet with your clients, just so you know what you're looking at. But Annual Savings Insight, let's run this and see what it tells us, what they would need to do to retire early. All right, it's given us a figure of $11,044 annually between now and retirement for them to save. And it looks like most years they would be able to do that, except for this second year here where they're doing the kitchen remodel. So maybe that's a conversation we need to have with them. Is this kitchen remodel something that they absolutely want to do? Or maybe we could remove that kitchen remodel and start saving this annually instead. So let's create a scenario where we start saving this annually and we take out that kitchen remodel, and then they can retire at 60. So let's go into our timeline. I'm going to remove this kitchen remodel as a goal. Click delete. And then I'm going to go to my dashboard, and I'm going to go to my non-registered account, and I'm going to add in that additional savings, and I'm just going to do 11,500 to round it up. And if I go back to my timeline, I should now see that they're meeting their goals 100%. And I'm going to go to my manage plans. And I'm going to delete this one, actually. This is one that I was just playing around with earlier. So I'll continue. And then I'm going to change the name of this one. So you can go to your Manage Plans. You can make some adjustments here. So I'm going to call this Retire Early, Save More, No Kitchen. And I'm going to make a note in here. So we're going to save an additional 11,500 annually in the non-reg per annual savings insight. That's just a note to me and the clients what we've done differently in this plan. And this is going to be now what we're going to look at and compare and contrast against our current situation. So I'm going to go back to my Let's See, go to chart view, compare plans. We're going to look at these two, comparing them against each other. So if we compare and contrast the cash flows, we can see in both scenarios the clients are doing okay. If we look at the assets, we can see the difference between the two. And I'm going to, again, just pull out that other asset, which is the home, turn on the details, and compare and contrast these two against each other. So you can see in the retire early, we have a asset difference of a little over $1 million, but they still have more than enough assets in here to maintain their standard of living that they're wanting and retire early. So we're allowing them to achieve what they're looking for and retire 5 years earlier. So this would be an option that we could present to the client. that allows them to retire 5 years earlier and still maintain that retirement spending goal and the travel goal that they're looking for. So that's just one example of how you might present some plans to a client in Voyant. Another thing that I wanted to look at with you is reports. So you might want to send a report of what you've gone over with them while they're leaving, or you might email it to them after the meeting. I would definitely suggest getting familiar with the different reports in here and creating a few custom report sets that you can just select from this drop down once you've had a chance to select the ones that you like as your defaults. I have this one here that's just a default retirement set, but again, just go through here and find the ones that you like and create a couple of report sets that you can go back to. And then once you've created your report set, select it from the drop down and generate a report. That'll generate a PDF that you can send with them, and then you'll just make sure that you're generating from the plan that you want to send with them. So in this example, what we're proposing is this retire early, save more, no kitchen remodel plan, and I think that that's what we're going to go with. And so I think once we have decided on that, we're going to make this our new working plan. And so I'm going to go to Manage Plans, and I'm going to update and promote this to my new base plan. So this is going to be the new plan that we work from. I'm going to click Next. And I want our new start date to be, you can either do today's date or you can do a custom date, up to you. I'll just do today's date, select Next, and promote this new plan. If you want to make any adjustments to any of the figures in the plan, it'll just take you through all of this to make sure that there's no adjustments that need to be made. Looks like my demo server is temporarily down, but that is the basics of what I was going to go through today. So I did want to make sure that you guys, if you have any questions or if you'd like to set up a time to go through a plan that you are wanting to present to your clients personally, I would be happy to do that with you. Just send me a personal email to support@planwithvoyant.com and we can go through your plan together one-on-one. Or if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to set up a time for some personal training. All right, thanks for spending some time with me today, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for listening.